A simple woman who is often overlooked or underestimated because of her quiet nature or modest lifestyle usually carries within her a depth of strength and dignity that few recognize at first glance. In the setting of a will reading, where family members, relatives, and acquaintances gather with anticipation, the atmosphere is often charged with expectation, greed, and curiosity. People arrive dressed in their finest clothes, eager to know what they will receive, and some may even whisper in judgment about who deserves what. In such a moment, the humble woman is treated with dismissal and mockery. Perhaps her clothes are plain, her life seems small in comparison to the others, or her presence feels insignificant to those who measure worth by wealth or appearance. She is humiliated, laughed at, or spoken down to because the crowd assumes she is unworthy of any meaningful inheritance. They may believe that her contribution to the deceased's life was minimal or irrelevant, and in their arrogance, they fail to see the truth. As the lawyer begins reading the will, the names of others are called, and small possessions or sums are distributed. Excitement rises when larger parts of the estate are mentioned, and people lean forward, certain that they will be named the recipients. Some glance at the woman with smug confidence, expecting her to be excluded entirely or given something trivial as a symbolic gesture. Their pride blinds them, making them believe that the inheritance belongs only to those with status or material power. The woman remains calm, perhaps holding back tears of humiliation, not because she expects anything, but because she feels the sting of disrespect. Then comes the twist that changes the entire room. The lawyer reads the final portion of the will, and silence falls. The deceased, perhaps a parent, friend, or benefactor, reveals that the simple woman is the sole heir to the entire estate. She has inherited everything: land, property, money, assets, and treasures. The room that once echoed with laughter and whispers is now filled with gasps and stunned faces. Those who humiliated her moments before sit frozen, unable to comprehend how someone they looked down upon has now become the owner of everything they desired. The woman who was insulted and mocked is suddenly the one in a position of dignity, honor, and power. This moment is not only about the distribution of wealth, but about the lesson embedded within it. The deceased likely saw qualities in her that others ignored: loyalty, kindness, humility, or years of quiet service and genuine love. While others may have pursued the deceased for money or influence, she may have cared sincerely, offering companionship, support, and compassion. The inheritance becomes a symbol of justice, rewarding authenticity over greed and character over appearances. The humiliation she endured turns into poetic irony, as those who disrespected her are forced to face the truth that wealth does not always follow arrogance, but often finds its way to the humble. For the woman, this moment is both liberating and empowering. She does not gloat or seek revenge. Instead, she carries the inheritance with grace, proving that her worth was never dependent on anyone's validation. The story reminds us that in life, people often judge too quickly based on outward appearances, social class, or material possessions. Yet true value is hidden in qualities that cannot be measured by the eyes of the shallow. The will reading becomes a stage where arrogance is humbled, dignity is restored, and the power of humility triumphs. This story inspires reflection on how we treat others. It warns against pride, greed, and quick judgment while highlighting the timeless truth that those who seem insignificant may, in fact, be the most deserving. The simple woman's journey from humiliation to honor reflects the profound lesson that respect, kindness, and authenticity are greater inheritances than any amount of wealth. The idea of never judging by appearances is one of the most powerful lessons that life teaches us again and again. Yet it is often the one people forget most easily. in the story of a simple woman being humiliated at a will reading until everyone realizes she has inherited everything. The core mistake of those around her was their assumption that simplicity equates to weakness, insignificance, or lack of value. They saw her plain clothing, her humble manners, and perhaps her quiet way of sitting in the corner, and immediately dismissed her as someone who was unworthy of attention or respect. Their arrogance blinded them from recognizing that appearances are only the surface, and the true worth of a person lies deeper, often in qualities like loyalty, kindness, and integrity, which cannot be measured by material possessions or external show. When society places too much emphasis on wealth, status, and image, people who choose a simpler way of life are often mocked or overlooked. But appearances can be very misleading. A humble person may not flaunt what they have, but inside them lies wisdom, compassion, and the strength of character that far outweighs material riches. In contrast, someone who looks successful on the outside may be empty or selfish within. The will reading becomes a moment of revelation, a moment where the truth breaks through the shallow judgments of others. The simple woman, once ignored and insulted, becomes the very center of attention when it is revealed that the deceased valued her above everyone else, entrusting her with everything. This reversal of expectations is not just dramatic, it is a reflection of how life often rewards authenticity over pretense. This lesson also applies to our daily lives. Too often, we judge people in seconds based on their clothes, jobs, or background. We assume that the wealthy neighbor must be more successful, or that the quiet janitor has nothing important to say. Yet, time and time again, stories emerge of ordinary people with extraordinary courage, wisdom, or hidden blessings that change the course of others' lives. The woman in the will reading is symbolic of all those underestimated individuals who quietly give their best without demanding recognition. She represents the countless people who, despite not fitting into society's definition of success, hold immense value in ways that truly matter. When those at the will reading humiliated her, they were really exposing their own inner poverty. Their arrogance, greed, and obsession with wealth showed that they lacked gratitude, humility, and respect. They only saw the inheritance as a way to gain power or luxury, but they did not realize that the deceased valued sincerity more than materialism. In contrast, the simple woman had nothing to prove. Her humility was not weakness but strength, because she was comfortable being herself without needing to show off. That strength is what ultimately made her worthy of such trust and responsibility. The shock that the others experienced when she was named the heir was a powerful reminder that our judgments are often wrong. It turned their laughter into silence and their arrogance into shame. In that instant, they were forced to confront the truth that appearances can deceive and that the true treasures of life are often hidden in plain sight. This is a lesson worth carrying beyond the story itself. Never underestimate anyone based on how they look, where they come from, or how much they own. True greatness often hides behind humility, and real value is measured not by wealth but by character. Humility triumphs over arrogance is a timeless truth that echoes in many stories, and in the case of the simple woman who was humiliated at the will reading, it becomes the central turning point of the entire event. Arrogance often blinds people, making them believe that power, wealth, or social standing gives them superiority over others. The relatives and individuals gathered at the reading of the will carried themselves with entitlement. They expected to inherit fortunes, assuming that their status or connection automatically made them worthy. Their arrogance led them to mock and belittle the humble woman who sat quietly among them. To them, she seemed out of place, unworthy, and undeserving of even being in the same room. Yet, when the lawyer revealed that she was the one entrusted with everything, their arrogance collapsed, and humility rose as the ultimate victor. Humility is often misunderstood as weakness or passivity, but in reality, it is one of the strongest virtues a person can carry. It is the ability to stay grounded, kind, and respectful regardless of circumstances. The simple woman demonstrated this without even realizing it. She did not argue back when she was humiliated. She did not lash out or try to prove her worth to those mocking her. She simply remained calm, knowing that her value was not dependent on their opinions. This is the quiet strength of humility. It doesn't need validation from others. It simply exists, and in the right moment, it shines brighter than arrogance ever could. The arrogance of the others in the room, however, did not just make them look cruel. It also revealed their insecurity. They laughed at her because they feared she might represent something they lacked: authentic goodness. They tried to push her down in order to lift themselves higher. But arrogance is a shaky foundation. It crumbles the moment truth arrives. When the inheritance was revealed, the very people who mocked her were left speechless, stripped of their imagined superiority. Their arrogance had blinded them, while her humility had quietly prepared her for this moment of honor. This contrast between humility and arrogance is something that plays out in real life every day. The arrogant may gain attention quickly, but their pride eventually leads to downfall. They alienate others, lose trust, and often expose their weaknesses through their own behavior. The humble, on the other hand, may be overlooked at first, but in time, their consistency, kindness, and genuine nature earn them respect and opportunities that arrogance can never secure. Just as in the story, humility often wins in the long run because it aligns with truth, while arrogance is built on illusions of superiority. The triumph of humility in this scenario also teaches us about trust. The deceased chose the simple woman not because of her wealth, beauty, or social standing, but because of her heart, loyalty, and character. This decision revealed that true worth lies not in what people show to the world, but in who they are when no one is watching. It shows that humility is not only valued by wise people, but is also rewarded in life in ways that arrogance cannot imagine. The woman's inheritance was not just material wealth. It was a symbolic victory of values over vanity, of substance over show. When humility triumphs, it leaves behind lessons that change others. Those who once mocked her were forced to confront their arrogance, and perhaps some even reflected on their own shortcomings. The shock of her inheritance humbled them, whether they liked it or not. In that moment, the tables turned, and the woman who was once ridiculed became the most respected person in the room. Not because she sought revenge, but because her humility made her worthy of the highest trust. This shows that humility is not about lowering oneself, but about standing firmly in dignity without arrogance. It is proof that true greatness needs no loud proclamation. It is revealed through character, and in the end, it always triumphs over arrogance. True worth lies beyond wealth is one of the most powerful messages that comes from the story of the simple woman who was humiliated at the will reading. Many of the people in that room had convinced themselves that money was the only measure of a person's value. They looked at her simple clothes, her quiet demeanor, and assumed she had nothing to offer. To them, worth was tied directly to how much someone owned, what family name they carried, or what power they held. But when the will revealed that she was the one entrusted with everything, it shattered their shallow beliefs and forced them to see that true worth cannot be measured in dollars or possessions. Wealth is fleeting. It can be gained, lost, or passed from one person to another in an instant. What remains constant is character, integrity, and the way a person treats others. The simple woman may not have been wealthy by worldly standards, but she possessed the kind of wealth that cannot be bought: loyalty, humility, and honesty. The deceased understood this better than anyone. By leaving her everything, they sent a powerful message that character outweighs possessions, and love and respect are worth more than riches. The mocking she endured before the will was read showed how society often misunderstands value. People are quick to judge others by external appearances, by what they wear, how they speak, or what they own. But appearances are deceptive. A person may be dressed in luxury, yet be empty inside, while another may appear plain yet carry an immeasurable richness of heart. The woman's worth was hidden from those blinded by greed, but to the one who truly knew her, it was as clear as day. This moment teaches us that true value is not something visible to the eye, but something revealed in a person's actions. Kindness and loyalty over time. We see echoes of this truth throughout history and daily life. Heroes are often not the wealthiest or most powerful, but the ones who give of themselves selflessly. A teacher shaping young lives, a mother sacrificing for her child, a friend standing by you in your darkest moment. These acts carry more worth than all the gold in the world. The woman represented this very principle. She did not need to flaunt herself or beg for recognition. Her worth was already known by the one who mattered most. This story also reveals how wealth without values is empty. Many of those at the will reading were probably eager to inherit money, not to use it for good, but to fuel their own pride and greed. They wanted status, not responsibility. The simple woman, however, likely never expected or asked for such an inheritance, which is exactly why she was trusted with it. True worth is not shown in how much you can gain, but in how much you can be trusted with. That trust is a kind of wealth that is greater than anything material. In our world today, people chase wealth, thinking it will bring them happiness or respect. Yet stories like this remind us that happiness and respect come from within. You can own everything and still feel empty if you lack character. On the other hand, you can have very little yet be rich in relationships, love, and purpose. The simple woman's inheritance was not just about money. It was a symbol of recognition of her true worth, a worth that went beyond what anyone else in that room could see. The humiliation she faced before receiving the inheritance becomes almost poetic in hindsight. Those who judged her based on superficial standards were exposed, while her hidden value was revealed for all to see. This reversal is a lesson to never underestimate people based on their appearance, status, or possessions. True worth is not displayed in luxury cars, fancy houses, or big bank accounts. It is displayed in kindness, humility, and strength of character. In the end, the will reading served as more than a legal event. It became a mirror, reflecting the greed of some and the goodness of one. It showed that while wealth may pass hands, true worth is eternal. It cannot be stolen, mocked, or erased. It remains with a person no matter what. And when the moment comes, that worth shines brighter than all the gold, silencing arrogance and proving that the richest people are often those who live with humility, love, and integrity. Justice and karma prevail is the heart of this story, because it shows that life has a way of balancing wrongs and rewarding what is true and good, even if it takes time. When the simple woman first entered the will reading, she was not welcomed with respect. Instead, she was humiliated, mocked, and made to feel like she had no place among the others. They looked at her through the eyes of prejudice and greed, dismissing her as someone unworthy. In that moment, it may have felt like injustice was winning, like cruelty and arrogance had the upper hand. But as the will was read and the truth came to light, justice revealed itself in a powerful and unforgettable way. The very person they ridiculed turned out to be the one chosen to inherit everything. This turn of events illustrates how karma often works silently, but decisively. Those who insulted her believed their power, money, or family status made them superior. They thought belittling her would raise their own importance. Yet, their arrogance was punished in the most fitting way, their pride was crushed, and their false sense of superiority was stripped away in front of everyone. Meanwhile, the woman who remained quiet, humble, and true to herself was elevated beyond what anyone expected. Karma, in its simplest form, gave each person what they deserved: humiliation for the proud and honor for the humble. Justice in this story does not come through revenge or anger. The woman never lashed out or tried to prove herself to those mocking her. She did not argue, threaten, or fight for respect. Instead, she allowed her character to speak for her. The justice she received was natural and undeniable. It came not from her demanding it, but from the undeniable truth revealed through the will. This is an important lesson. True justice often requires patience because it comes in its own time and in a way that makes the outcome even more impactful. When people behave unjustly, humiliating others or dismissing them, they forget that their actions carry consequences. The mockers in the will reading may have thought they were untouchable, that their cruelty would go unnoticed. But life has a way of bringing hidden truths to light. Their treatment of the woman was exposed as shallow and cruel once it was revealed that she was the rightful inheritor. Their own words and actions turned against them, and that was the essence of karma, receiving back what they put into the world. The story also reminds us that justice and karma are not always about punishment. They are also about restoration and reward. The woman who was overlooked and disrespected was finally seen for who she truly was. Her loyalty, goodness, and connection with the deceased were validated. She did not just receive material wealth. She received recognition and honor in front of the very people who had tried to strip her of dignity. That recognition was perhaps the greatest justice of all, because it silenced the lies spoken against her and revealed the truth. Karma, in this sense, is a teacher. It shows everyone present that arrogance leads to downfall and humility leads to elevation. Those who mocked her learned a painful but necessary lesson: never judge someone based on appearances or assumptions. Justice prevailed not only for the woman, but for the moral fabric of the situation. It corrected the imbalance created by cruelty and restored fairness in a way that everyone could see. In real life, people sometimes lose faith in justice because it does not always happen immediately. But this story is a reminder that patience and integrity are stronger than schemes and arrogance. Justice may not arrive when we want it, but it comes when the moment is right, and when it does, it is undeniable. The will reading was the perfect stage for karma to play out. The woman's humility and silence became her strength, while the arrogance of the others became their downfall. Ultimately, this moment reflects that justice and karma are forces that cannot be stopped. They may move slowly, but they are sure. The humiliation the woman endured was temporary, but the justice she received was lasting. Those who had mocked her were left with the bitter taste of their own arrogance, while she was left with not only wealth, but also dignity and respect. Justice and karma prevailed by showing that in the end, goodness and truth will always outshine cruelty and greed, and those who underestimate others will one day face the consequences of their actions. Humility triumphs over pride is the deepest and most beautiful lesson hidden within this story. From the beginning, the simple woman walked into the will reading with no airs, no arrogance, and no expectation of special treatment. She carried herself with quiet dignity, even though others mocked her presence. Those who sat around her looked at her with contempt, whispered about her, and openly humiliated her because they believed she was not important enough to deserve a place there. Their pride made them blind, and their arrogance made them cruel. Yet, in the end, it was her humility that elevated her, while their pride became the cause of their downfall. True humility is not weakness. In fact, it is strength disguised in silence. The woman did not respond to insults with anger. She did not boast about her relationship with the deceased or demand respect from anyone in the room. Instead, she stayed calm, patient, and respectful. Her humility allowed her to remain steady while others exposed their selfishness and greed. When the will was read, and it revealed that she was the one chosen to inherit everything, her humility transformed into a crown of honor. It was clear that the deceased had recognized her character, her goodness, and her loyalty, which outweighed all the superficial pride of those who had scorned her. Pride, on the other hand, always carries seeds of destruction. The ones who mocked her believed wealth or family name made them superior. They placed themselves on a pedestal, thinking they were entitled to everything simply because of who they were or what they had. That pride made them reckless in their behavior. Instead of treating the woman with kindness or at least neutrality, they showed their arrogance openly. And when the truth was revealed, their pride collapsed under the weight of reality. The contrast between their humiliation and her elevation became the ultimate proof that pride leads to disgrace, while humility leads to honor. The story demonstrates how humility invites blessings in unexpected ways. The woman did not seek wealth, nor did she fight for recognition. Her humility kept her focused on her values and her relationship with the deceased, which was built on respect and sincerity. It was this very quality that made her deserving of the inheritance. Life often rewards humility in ways that pride can never imagine. The proud chase recognition and power, but in the end, their greed consumes them. The humble, however, are lifted up because they carry qualities that cannot be bought: kindness, patience, and authenticity. Humility also creates space for growth and understanding. Because the woman remained humble, she did not allow bitterness to poison her heart when she was humiliated. She let the truth speak for itself. And when it did, her victory was not loud or boastful. She did not gloat over those who mocked her. That is the essence of true humility. It does not seek to crush others but simply lives in the truth. In that way, her triumph was even greater, because it revealed her strength of character in both adversity and success. Pride, in contrast, isolates people. The proud characters in the story lost not only the inheritance but also their dignity and relationships. Their pride made them look down on others, and in doing so, they lost their humanity. The simple woman's humility, however, brought her closer to the deceased, and even in death, that bond spoke louder than the arrogance of others. This shows that humility builds bridges while pride burns them. The outcome of the story is a powerful reminder for everyone. Pride may make someone feel strong for a moment, but it eventually collapses because it is built on ego, not truth. Humility may seem quiet, but it holds unshakable strength because it is built on authenticity and respect. In the long run, humility always triumphs because it aligns with values that endure. This lesson is relevant not only in the story, but in everyday life. In workplaces, families, and communities, people who lead with pride often create conflict, while those who lead with humility earn trust and loyalty. The simple woman's journey shows that true greatness lies not in wealth or status, but in how one treats others and carries oneself. Humility is the key that opens doors to unexpected blessings, while pride closes them. In the end, the woman's humility became her victory. She inherited not only wealth, but also the truth that she had always been valued and loved for who she was, not for appearances. The proud lost everything they believed they were entitled to, and their arrogance became their shame. The story closes with a universal truth that resonates deeply: humility triumphs over pride, because it reflects the essence of real strength, while pride, no matter how glittering it appears, will always lead to a fall.